Good evening. This is my second video on YouTube. I decided to rebatch a bunch of soap that I had. These were in pieces and shavings off of several different types of soaps that I've done. I tried to keep this in the same color family. There's some beiges and creams and some light oranges and just various different varieties. These are some shavings off some olive oil soap, and there are all sorts of wonderful oils and butters and scents in these. I did manage somehow to have all of these in the same similar type of scent. I'm not big on scents myself. I don't put a lot of heavy scent in. I like to let the butters or herbs, even different types of essential oils on occasion to do the speaking for the fragrances. But I tend to keep them very similar. Almonds or bay rums, those sort of things. I have some other scents which I will be using in some things. I have some wonderful fragrant floral scents that I may actually be adding. I'm not real sure what I'm going to do with this, but I've already got my oils hot, and I'm going to go ahead and pour that in a mold. I'm going to place all of this inside of those bars because I've seen several other people do some fantastic things with their reblends, rebatches, I should say. But I've also seen several mistakes made, which is one of the advantages, right, to watching people who've done this many times. We get to learn from both their successes and even from those areas that could maybe have been a little better. You know, it helps each of us to avoid those costly mistakes that can be made. So to all of those folks out there who have had those batches that have gone bad, and I count myself among those, this is for you. Anyway, some of the more successful methods I've seen were with doing confetti soaps. So this is going to be a type of confetti soap. I'm going to embed these inside a loaf or two of soap. And together we'll see what we come up with. And in the meantime, we can chit-chat and hopefully get to know each other a bit better. All right, so here I've got my oils. I will be listing this in the description, but just to clarify for you what I have in here. I have 25 ounces of avocado oil. I have 6 ounces of castor oil. I have 56 ounces of coconut oil. I have 40 ounces of olive oil. And I have 20 ounces of sunflower seed oil. So this is going to be a larger batch here. It's about 147 ounces of oils. And this is going to be in addition to these items that I've also already shredded will be mixed in with this. So it's going to make a pretty good sized batch. Matter of fact, I haven't even weighed this, so let me check and see. Right, so I have about, excluding the bowl, I have about 5 pounds of shreds there. So that 5 pounds with this additional 147 ounces, well, as you can see, it's going to be a lot of soap, for me anyway. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start. Before I add the lye to this, I'm going to go ahead and mix in a few items here. So I've got this is half a cup of kaolin clay and half a cup of ground oatmeal. And it's organic oatmeal that I ground up myself. fantastic. So I'll go ahead and give this a couple buzzes. Always careful to press it down. Try to get the clay down in there. Burp the blender so we don't get too much air into our soap. That's just that much less tapping we'll have to do afterward. Okay, I'm also, before I add in my lye water, I'm going to go ahead and add in this coconut milk. It's a little lumpy here, so this will take a bit of blending. There we go. I just didn't want it to splash oil on me. All right. I'm going to stir this by hand just a tad bit. Try to break up a few of those larger lumps here. I just love the texture of soaps that have this coconut milk along with the coconut oil. It's so nice, you know, that it's of course the same family. But also it just adds a real rich creaminess to the soap that I'm a big fan of. The only milks I generally use are my own goat's milk, which was actually what I had planned on doing this week. But the truth is, it's been so cold, and we recently had a new baby born, which is just really exciting, and she needs that milk, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pour this in, get the lye in. Just running it through the filter. Now I did add some titanium dioxide to this, which is completely naturally occurring. Wow, this is going to be really full. Oh, that's a lot fuller than I'd intended. I did add some titanium dioxide to this because I'm going to be using the Rebatch shavings in it, and I just wanted these to stand out against the white. I just thought it would add a more interesting look, but we'll see how it turns out. I did not realize how full I had this, though, so I'm going to be very careful here. So, yuck, I've made a mess here, haven't I? Okay. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'll show you, I've got a couple of different molds here ready. I recently visited California to see my family there, and there, something that I've never experienced here in Texas, there, if you want a bag, if you don't have your own cloth bag or fabric bag or whatever the case may be, you have to buy your grocery bag. This is from a Walmart there. I believe these were a nickel, I think a nickel. I don't recall now. But it's actually a very nice bag. And I actually ended up bringing two of them home with me to show someone else here, actually in Texas. I said, look at these. These are California Walmart bags. But it's a really nice thick plastic, so they are really good for lining molds with. Actually, I don't know that. This is the first time I've done it. But I mean, it felt really good going in. It seems like it's going to be very stable, but we'll see how it all turns out. But my plan is to, here, let me set this, move this over here. My plan is to put the, actually, what I'm going to do, let me grab a scoop. Here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ladle in just a little bit of this. Wow, that's thin. Okay. I'm going to have faith that this will set up. Okay. And then I want to put some of these embeds inside. And just to be sure it all holds together, let me get my alcohol here. Actually, I think I'll wait on that. I'm going to go ahead, I think for this purpose, I'm just going to go ahead and fill the mold on this mold. So it floats. I had not thought about that. Yeah, maybe I should have got this thicker for this purpose. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna put a tad bit more over the top of this. This is me improvising. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out. I've never done it before, but it just seemed like a fun idea. Getting this kind of full up to the tippy top here because I want to make sure that there are real layers here if possible. All right. Good. All right, so I'm going to set this one aside. I'm going to get my larger mold, and one moment, please. And one thing I noticed too about that first mold was that I burped the air bubbles. I banged it several times and there was a lot of air because each of these little pieces here hold air between them. The Rebatch soap does. And as it thickens also, it takes it longer to get down in between the layers of the soap. So, okay, so let me bang this a bit, and you can see those bubbles coming to the surface. Okay, good. All right, so I'll add more of the Rebatch in here. I'm trying to distribute it evenly throughout, but I'm not sure that I'm doing the best job. Some of these pieces didn't shred up as small as I'd hoped they would. Most have. I'm not sure how this is going to look in the end. I think it's going to be, it smells wonderful. I used all but about a cup and a half of the Rebatch. I don't want to put any more in here. I've got it about as full as I can here. And I'm not going to glitter, I'm not going to do any of those things. I certainly could, but I think I'm going to leave this rather in its pure state. It's a good base, and these are some great soaps, and I just think I'm going to leave it as it is and hope for the best. All right, so I'm going to take this away. I'm going to put the rest of this to use, but next time you see me, we'll be cutting this. So thanks, and I'll see you in a bit. Hi everyone. Well, I've waited 24 hours. I've got the first loaf here. I did go ahead, I ended up with a lot of extra soap, so I just piped on a top on this one. Just to make it a little more interesting. I then sprinkled some coconut sugar and oatmeal on top. Just give it a little something extra. So let's see what we've got. It's a lot harder than I'd anticipated. All right. Well, we've got a stubborn one here. Well, you know what? I'll just go ahead and do the rest of these. Wow. Oh, you know what it is? I bet it's those embeds that are making it especially tough. I may have to actually remove this from this slicer to get this done. Let's try one more here. Sorry, I'm getting off center here a bit. Okay, I'm kind of crushing the top on these a bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove these. Okay, well, I will say this. Yes, I've got my serial killer knife here. These are not as lovely as I thought they would be. And there's nothing wrong with them. I was just hoping for something a little showier. And I think that mistake, of course, is all mine. I think my batter needed to be much thicker at the beginning. I think I would have got a much better suspension. But this is what I've got. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of these here. Well, this is what we ended up with here. It reminds me more of soap that needs to be rebatched than soap that has already been rebatched. But I actually like it. These made some very large bars, obviously. And as you saw, I made a really rather large batch. For me, for a home soap maker, it was a pretty large batch. I like it. I didn't get all the batter didn't fill in all of the gaps between some of the soap on a few pieces. Most of it looks like it did a pretty good job, but a few pieces did not. It kind of reminds me of toast right now. Now I know that this will darken in areas a bit, and some of it will lighten. Excuse me, as it cures, but. So this is what we ended up with. I'm overall really rather satisfied. It's not what I'd intended, but sometimes we have successes with our failures. So enough said about that. I'm going to get the larger loaf that I made, and we'll bring it out and see if it turned out a bit different. Well, here it is. And I will tell you that nothing has made me desire a a loaf cutter, one of those large ones with all the wonderful piano wire, then this loaf. It's very heavy. And it's hard. In areas it's already very, very hard. And cutting through this is going to be a real challenge. But I have a knife here. Actually, I want to clean this knife off just a bit. Okay, so I may have to rename this channel to Soap Failures. What has happened in this loaf? This is the one piece that I cut. Where I poured the layer of Rebatch in, the soap didn't really connect. And so, in essence, it has separated. I'm hoping maybe it's just on this end piece, but I fear it's probably all the way through the loaf. So, this, I'm afraid, will have to go into the Rebatch bin for another try. So I'm going to try, sorry for the mess here. I'm going to try one more slice, and I'm going to do this one a little differently. I'm going to use this this cutter to see if I can get maybe a little cleaner slice. It's going through a bit easier than the knife. Slide it out. I am not cutting these very even, I'm afraid. So these are going to be rustic, to say the least. It's the same. So this is a fail. Completely unusable as soap. I don't know. I think I put it too thick, and I didn't allow enough of the layer to seep through to the other side. So this, I'm afraid, is a fail. Well, thank you all for witnessing this. Hopefully you learned something from it. I certainly have. And probably some of you spotted the error before I even began. But thanks, everyone. And we'll talk again soon. So, I am obviously not too proud to admit when a failure's a failure. This was a definite fail. It was just I think the concept was an interesting one. The execution was a fail. I wouldn't even get close to the podium for this. So if this were an Olympic soaping event, I'd be the little loser sitting on the sideline smoking a doobie, I'm afraid, because I just completely lost it on this one. I've made mistakes before. As I said, actually, what's funny is I started this out talking about the reason why people rebatch, right, is because sometimes it's just leftovers, sometimes it's mistakes. Well, this is going to be a rebatch of a rebatch. I'm going for a completely different concept now. So what I'm going to do is I'm cutting this up. And by the way, the first loaf that I did turned out great. This one, I spread the rebatched pieces too thick between the layers, and basically the layer cake just disintegrated. So what I'm going to do is I've put about 1.5 cups of water in here, distilled water. And I'm just cutting this up into some chunks here. It's still soft. I have to tell you all, this reminds me of the tofu my mother never made. Well, it's been in the pot for about 20 minutes. It's, yes, it's over full. That seems to be my MO right now. But it's coming along. It's starting to soften up a bit. Here you can see it's starting to. So I'm going to leave it alone for a bit. Try to put the lid back on. As you can see, the lid is on so tight that it's rather caked. I wish it were a tighter fit, but hey. I currently have it on low. I'm going to turn it up to high for about 30 minutes. And hopefully Alexa doesn't fall asleep and reminds me. So let's check back in about 30 minutes. Well, this is about 30 minutes later, and it's starting to soften up a bit here. You can see it's glistening a bit. So I'm just going to check back. I keep saying we, right? You didn't make this mess, I did. And gosh, I hope you learn from this. If you can learn just one thing, you'll learn not to watch any more of this crazy guy's videos. There's the lesson. I'll check back on this in about another 30-45 minutes. I'm just going to let it keep on doing what it's doing. You can see it's gone down a bit. At least the big mound has shrunk a bit. So actually, let me go ahead and clean this off a bit. Don't want to waste any more than have to. All right, so there we go. I'll come back on, we'll check on this in about another 30 or so I'll see you then. Thanks, everyone. So, checking back here, and you can see it's starting to look really gross. But it's, this must be kind of the way Dr. Frankenstein felt when he was putting together his monster. Except he didn't waste so much coconut oil, I'm sure. Not that I'm complaining, but yeah, so it's doing this thing. It's becoming a big congealed, nice brown mess. And I'm just trying to think of, once it's done, if there's anything I can do to make this look any better. And I don't think there is. It's kind of like having a really, you have a really ugly child. You love it, but you hide it in the closet when company comes over. I'm kidding, of course, but that's sort of the way this soap feels. Oh, it's the soap that wouldn't go away. Okay, but I'm willing to bet this is going to be a really fine soap, though. Because it's got everything in it. This sucker there's shea butter, let me think back, there's mango butter in some of these soaps, there's carrot juice from my own carrots, organic, by the way. There's fresh oats, there is chamomile, for the chamomile flower that I have ground and put in some of these bars. A lavender flower. So it really truly is a mixture, I think, of most ingredients. There's not an oil that there's not. I mean, it's got olive oil, of course, coconut oil. There are, gosh, what else is in here? Sweet almond oil. I think there's some sunflower oil perhaps in some of these bars. There's goat milk galore in a lot of these, at least the Rebatch part of this. And doesn't this look so much different than what I started with? Not necessarily in a positive direction, but okay. So as I promised, I'll stop now and we'll check back in about 30. Thanks, everyone. Well, I have come back now after about another 20 minutes, and I think it is about as good as it's going to get. It's this It's still at this oatmeal, yucky oatmeal stage. And I'm going to go ahead and place it in a mold. All right, so I've added the almond biscotti from Brambleberry oil, and I apologize that I had to sign off there for a moment. I heard it's been raining here for, it seems like weeks, but it's been a lot. We've been getting a lot of rain here, as many of you I'm sure have too. Here in Northeast Texas, the area that I live, we've had nearly 8 inches of rain, and it is just awful. Anyway, the kitties have to go outside from time to time, and boy, when they want to come back in, they want to come back in now. So I have to, their wish is my command. That saves me from having to keep a sandbox, which I haven't done for a long time, and would prefer not to rejoin the masses. I've done it before, and I'm not saying that I would never have a cat box again. If I had a sick cat or a cat when they really needed to be indoors, of course I would. But right now my cats are well trained to the outdoors, thank goodness. They're farm cats, but at heart they do love coming indoors and visiting and laying by the fireplace. So how could I possibly refuse them? They've been with me a very long time, and they've been with me through some very difficult times, through the loss of friends and family. Your pets remain. That's, at least in my case, that means something. All right. I hope there are other pet lovers out there. If so, tell me about it. What kind of animals do you have? Dogs, cats, I love them all. I have several dogs. I have 3 Great Pyrenees. They're the livestock animals. They protect the goats on the farm and the chickens and the turkeys and the geese. They're good protectors of everything. I have 3 of them. And then I have the little puppy that I saved. Well, he's not a puppy now. He's 10 months old, I think. So he's a big boy now. Barry. All right. Well, I've got this loaded up here. So I don't know if there's anything I can do to make this any prettier. I'm going to pound it down and try to get it down in there, but I'll bring you back for the cutting and we'll see. It's got to be better, right? It's got to be better than that last mistake where it was just falling apart. So, okay. So I'll get the dividers in here and set it aside, and we'll take a look at it tomorrow. Well, it's tomorrow for me. For you, it's a matter of seconds. So, thanks everyone. Well, look at me. I got a little bit ahead of myself and started unmolding. They're still a little soft, but this is how they turned out. And considering it's a rebatch of a rebatch, I'm pretty happy actually. These are rather tall bars because I overfilled the mold a bit, but I'm fairly happy with them. I wish I had maybe color or added some color to the top. I think it would have added a bit more interest to them, but hey, they look a lot better than that initial mess I had. Okay, so most of these, as you can see, they came out just fine. Now, a few little wrinkles there, but it's still soft enough actually where I can push in and fill in some of those areas. Any areas like that are just lifted up. It's soft enough. I can go ahead and just press it into place, and then when it dries, it'll be okay. They're not the prettiest things, but they've got good stuff in them. You saw the things we were putting in them. There's coconut. There's wonderful olive oil. There are several clays. There's kaolin clay in here. There's some bentonite clay in here. There are just every every kind of oil, and adding the almond fragrance was such a great idea, because a lot of the fragrances had completely dissipated, so there wasn't much left there. By the way, I thought I'd share a little tip with you that I found. With these type of tray dividers, mold dividers, they can be a little tricky to get out of these individual compartments, because you don't want to pull these straps, these dividers, you don't want to pull them away from the soap, because you can, especially when the soap's not fully hardened, you can actually pull the soap apart. So you want to slide them out. Well, a little trick that I found that I'm happy to share with you is I have a couple of these. They're just shipping pads here that I'm using just to hold this up. You could use whatever you have, books, whatever. But I turn them upside down, like so. Then I use one of the divider strips and simply lay it flat on the back of the soap and press down. Move to the other side and press down, like this. And you can see, whoop, that it just pops out. And the same with these inside ones, because it's exactly the same size strap. It fits right between. Oh, this one is a little crooked here, so let me get a better hold on it. There we go. Okay. Fantastic. And then we just go on down the list. I've got two more here. Might as well go ahead and get these out. And you can see these do come out whole by doing it that way. Okay, as he said, got a little chip there, but I think that was some overpour, so that goes into the rebatch pot. And so the next time around, I can use those. And as I said, these are still very soft. You can see it's kind of coming off on my hands. So these are going to take a little time to cure, for sure. A couple weeks. The lye has all dissipated because most of this, as you're aware, was from a rebatch. And as such, it had already been saponified. So I did make one rebatch for this set. It's not a rebatch. I had made a new soap to mix with the rebatch, but that was cooked. I cooked that for about 3 hours in the crock pot. So, as such, these are ready to use, except they're very soft. That 1.5 cups of water that I added, I tried to cook most of it off, but there's still some mixed in with the soap. So once that evaporates, these will be good to go. I'm very happy considering what it was like initially. And I'll try to show another picture of those. You can see that these are a good thing, as Martha would say. So I'm happy. So team, I want to thank you all for joining. This has been a hoot. It certainly turned into a much bigger challenge than I had anticipated, but I'm happy. These turned out quite nice. They're large bars, that's for sure. And I think I'll probably be giving some of these away. These, as I said, these are fairly massive. And if you look, you can see the specs from some of the other soaps that were made in the rebatch. I'm very happy with that. It just gives it a very handcrafted look, which, as you all know, it was. So there we go. If you have any questions, post them in the comments. Any suggestions, any improvements, which I'm sure you can think of, let me know. Thanks again, and we'll talk again soon.